All right. Hello and welcome. It's the degenerate and my good friend Drew, who I've been friends with since middle school. And the first guy I knew who's not only the first Florida Panthers fan, but the first Tampa Bay Rays fan, as you can tell with the beautiful stadium in the background. That's not a real picture you took from like a helicopter, is it?
I did not take this picture. I wish I could take credit, and it's a little bittersweet looking at it, knowing that it's not
No.
there anymore.
Yeah. So Drew and I did, I think last year we did something called the Rays Glaze, where we talked about the Rays a couple times a week for a little bit. But unfortunately, and I will take the blame for this, you can call me a bad fan or whatnot, but there were some times where the Rays were really, really bad and my heart just wasn't in it. And I just have to kind of tune them out.
It
But
wasn't even necessarily them being bad. It was just like their style of play was rough last year. I mean,
yes.
they ended up winning 80 games. I mean, so it wasn't like they had a terrible, terrible season. But yeah, they were hard to watch. Really a struggle to score any type of runs. Lost so many games 2-1. So frustrating season.
Frustrating season indeed. And you know what? I think I've heard. Yeah, I think I heard the other day since 2008, the Rays have the third most wins
Right.
behind the Dodgers and the Yankees. That's incredible.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, and that's with playing in the hardest division in baseball.
yep. So listen, if you followed me, you know, obviously, or you probably know I'm a race fan, but also again, Drew is a big race fan, but a very knowledgeable sports brain, I guess, in general, all things sports, but even more so specifically your favorite team. So we've had a lot of people on the past couple of days talking primarily AL East because we had a Yankees fan, Blue Jays guys, Jovan Rays, but I think Drew really knows the ins and outs of what to expect with the Rays. And I have to give you a lot of credit. You're very grounded. I when things are going bad for me, I think the sky is falling. And when I think they're going well, I start to act like we're going to win 140 games. You've always been grounded. Sometimes it's a little annoying, but it's what I need. Every fan needs that in their corner.
Well,
So
I think it's because like probably your football is your favorite sport,
coming
and
hockey
football.
lately, but yes,
Yeah, well, I just say traditionally football. Football, you can be emotional like that because it's such a short season. You play such a short amount of games. And baseball, you could be a team that wins 100 games and you can go through an awful 2 week stretch. So, you have to stay grounded. I mean, the crazy thing about baseball is like once it starts, it just never ends. You know, what I mean, starting tomorrow, there's
yes.
literally baseball on every single day until Halloween. It's kind of crazy.
Well, it's a very fun sport to bet, but it's exhausting. It is absolutely a grind. If you pay attention or if you listen to older pro betters, a lot of them take the summer off. They cap or they tend to find their edges earlier in the year. I actually had a pretty I have not had very good baseball seasons the past few years, and especially since I've been doing this account. But the last season, I was up money and I had a great second half of the year. I did not bet really anything Rays related. 2 years ago, I bet their over win total. Love that Rays team. So I stayed off entirely. Still bet them here and there. You know, Taj Bradley over K's was my favorite thing, my claim to fame. However, coming into this season, Drew, I'm excited. I'm really excited, and it's funny because with the way things have started, back with the Hurricane Stadium getting torn apart, where are they going to play? What are they going to do? You throw your average team or organization into some turmoil, immediately you're going to be like, ooh, bad vibes, stay away. And that's kind of the tone that like the Blue Jays guys had, where they're not even like Rays haters, but they're like, I don't know, man, like 50 games on the road, that's gonna hurt them. It's really gonna get to them, blah blah blah. So I understand, like, if anybody wanted to stay off the Rays and because of that, I wouldn't talk you into it. But outside of that, Drew, I know there's a lot of factors I have to consider because they're going to be playing outside. The Trop was a pitcher's park, and the Rays are always known for having a solid foundation of pitchers. But I'm just looking at the rotation. I'm in love. I'm looking at the lineup. I'm not going to say I'm in love with the lineup, but there's question marks that I think some of these guys are going to come through and have decent seasons. So as of right now, where is your head at going into the season as a
Well,
Rays
first,
fan?
let's start with the elements, just to address that. So, me
Yes.
personally, and I could be dead wrong. We could be in mid July, and I look like an idiot. But I don't think the elements are going to be that big of a deal because the Rays, outside of the Marlins, are the youngest team in baseball, and the difference between the two of them, I read was like several months. So you could say they're basically the youngest team in baseball. And I don't know about you. I mean, you're 25, 24 years old. Playing in the summer heat really going to be that big of a deal for you? I don't think so. I mean, when I was 24, 25 years old, drinking 4 or 5 times a week, working outdoors, these are professional athletes. So I think they're going to be fine. I think most of the people who are bitching about this, they're just fat sports writers who are going to be dreading sitting outside in July and August. But I also heard Kevin Cash talk about this. He's like, guys, like it's hot everywhere in the summer. He's like, when we played in Atlanta and Pittsburgh last year in July, it was the hottest I've ever been. So, I mean, like, I think the rain delays are going to be annoying, but you know what? I mean, that's a factor for both teams. So, you know, I don't think the elements are, if we had like an older team, like a veteran team, which the Rays never have, but let's just say that they were like an older vet team, like some Yankees teams in the past, then I'd be more concerned. But like the average age of the Rays player is 26 years old. Outside of Yandy Diaz, I don't think anybody is well into their 30s on this team. So I think they're going to be fine. I don't think the elements are going to be a problem.
So, okay, that's a really good point. How about in terms of the outdoor heat factor for hitting conditions and how that?
I think it's more a problem for pitching, to be honest with you.
So it's a problem for pitching more so than it is like the actual stamina of the athletes for the Rays to deal with.
But that's where the Rays' strength is going to be compared to their opponents. Is they have just an endless bullpen. You know what I mean? They have endless arms. I mean, they have guys in AAA who would have made rosters in MLB. So I think it's going to be an advantage when you're maybe playing a 4-game set at home in July and August when it's crazy hot and other teams are fading, where the Rays could just throw arm after arm at you. So I'm looking at it as an advantage going into the season.
Wow. Okay. When does the long road stretch start?
I think July. So from when I was looking at it, it's kind of crazy. Their first 22 games, I believe 19 are at home.
Yes.
Basically, April, May, June, this team is living at home. So let's just say their first 40 games, the majority are at home. I don't know the exact amount, but whether it's 28, 30, they need to start off well. I mean, everything I said, you could throw out the door if they start, sluggish or 500. Say their first 40 games, the majority are at home. To be realistic about it, 26 and 14, they need to start well with knowing that they're going to be living on the road July and August. I believe July and August, they barely have any home games because they're really trying to avoid the rain. September, the home games increase just because the rain typically slows down a little bit then. So yeah, the team's gonna have to start hot. Their first 40 games, they're gonna have to be, close to 10 games above 500.
There's usually some fun bets. I'm looking at DraftKings. I don't see it, but there's usually some fun bets where you can take team to the first 20 wins, first 30 wins. Might be interesting to consider the Rays there, although that is going to be skewed in their favor a little bit with playing at home. So maybe that's why the betting market isn't up at the moment. So, okay. You look at this as an advantage. The park, Steinbrenner Field, I believe it's called, that they're playing in. It's
Yankee Stadium. It's the same exact dimension as Yankee Stadium. So,
which makes sense.
So it's going to be the Rays pitching may not be as crisp as it is in years past, but also they should score a lot more runs. Brandon Lau last season, all of his home runs, all 22 home runs he hit, were in right field or center field. And so, they have the short porch in Steinbrenner Field.
Right.
So, you got to imagine that's going to be it could be a huge advantage for him, Josh Lowe.
Any lefty, right?
Any lefty, really.
But we don't have a ton of them.
No, we don't. So that's why I just pictured J-Lo and Brandon. So, the two of them, they really need to step it up. I'd say between the two of them, collectively, we need 50 home runs.
Yeah.
Whether that's, Brandon 30, Josh 20, whatever that breakdown is. But I look at the two of them, they need to deliver 50 home runs. And honestly, if Brandon stays healthy, I don't see why he can't hit 30 home runs. His biggest issue in his career is, he always gets hurt. It's always like some type of annoying injury. He rarely plays more than like 110 games in a season. If he could stay healthy enough and play 130, 140 games, I don't see why he can't hit 30 plus home runs in the ballpark.
Yeah, I would agree with you. If you're, have you been following any of these guys during spring? I have only seen a few beat writers and reporters kind of just talk about how the vibes are high. I'm
not surprised the vibes are high just because the team's so young. You know what I mean? I think that kind of comes along with like being a young team. They kind of got rid of like maybe some of the bad mojo. I think the atmosphere was a little weird
Randy,
after the Wander stuff, and then
Wander.
Randy and Yandy didn't get along, and it was just kind of just last season was just a lot of weird vibes.
Yep.
I think even last season, you texted me before the season started saying like you heard from Pete Fairbanks' wife.
Hey, hey, don't release any names, but it was a wife of a player.
You can edit that out.
Friend of a friend. Yeah, no, it wasn't. Yeah, but anyways, the morale was off.
Yeah, so great insider sourcing by you. But yeah, so all vibes seem to be good, and I think like the Rays thrive when they have that underdog mentality. Oh, they're playing outdoors. Oh, they lost. Their bigger name players. Their win total is not as high. I feel like this is when we thrive. We struggle when we go into a season and people are like, oh, the Rays are going to be really good. So I think the team kind of will thrive with that underdog mindset. What the Rays remind me of is they kind of remind me of last season's Guardians. If you remember 2 years ago, so not last season, the season before, the Guardians sucked. They won 78, 79 games. They weren't very good.
Mm-hmm.
But they had a huge bounce back season last season, made the playoffs, and they lost to the Yankees, right?
Yeah.
Or was it? Yeah. So, yeah. I'm looking at them as a kind of a similar season as the Guardians, a team that's typically good, had a bit of a down season, and now they're going to bounce back.
So it's funny you say that about the Rays thriving when the expectations are not there, because I remember the past 2 seasons I follow this website called VSiN, and they have a very good writer for MLB. I think his name's Adam Burke or whatnot, but he's a smart guy. And, there's usually a ripple effect. Like when a couple of smart guys have a read, the market's kind of reactive and everybody tends to kind of agree. And 2 years ago, everybody was on the Rays under. And I can't really remember why, but that was the year I went on the over. Oh, I do remember why. Drew, they didn't do anything with their lineup, and their lineup was terrible. Yeah. And I was like, I trust the Rays. I'm like, if they're going to stick with these fucking Harold Ramirez and Paredes, whatever, it should work. And it did. So then what was really funny is all the guys that faded the Rays 2 years ago when they got burned, then decided, you know what, we're not fading the Rays. The Rays just always are the Rays. They always win. Then everybody bet they're over last year, and they got burned. So now it's like nobody really knows what to do, and everybody's kind of off them. So that's a very good point, and that makes me like the Rays even more. All right, so let's talk about a little bit about the rotation, a little bit about the lineup, and then I want to go into some bets that are offered for props. I'm going to run through the list, and you tell me what you like and what you don't like. So let's start the rotation right now. Obviously, if people aren't familiar, Shane McClanahan did just have an injury at left tricep. He should be out 2-3 weeks. Is that what
we don't know right now? We don't know. The Rays they're always going to be over conservative. So let's just say it's a 3-week injury. I would expect him out 5 weeks.
Okay.
And I have no problem with that. He's coming off Tommy John. The Rays have no shortage of pitching. So I'm in no rush to get him back. I think the Rays can survive the first, 4 to 6 weeks of the season without him, get him right for the summer. But yeah, they're going to need him this season for sure to get where they want to go. But I wouldn't expect to see him back until May.
Yeah. So I was listening to one of the Rays guys talk about it, and it was like, how does it feel having Shane back? And he was like, he's just our ace, and it just feels right. Like everything else falls into place. So maybe throw off the vibes a little bit there. I'm not too concerned about it, but here's what we have right now. The rotation without Shane. It was talked about they have a 6-man rotation, and then Zach Littell would probably be the trade piece if everything was going according to plan. You got Pepiot as the leadoff guy.
He's an opening day starter, which I like. Yeah, he had a great first season with the Rays. They got him in the Tyler Glasnow trade. Love everything about the guy. He's embraced the Tampa community. Very steady last season. He would have even had a better season. He just missed some time due to freak stuff. I don't know if you remember. He got bit by a spider in New York or something like that, and he was out for like a month. So nothing with his arm. So he's coming into the season healthy and hopefully hitting the prime of his career.
Yep. He was, by the way, wow. Oh, never mind. He was drafted by the Dodgers in 2019. He's only 6'3". I thought he was he looks like a big dude.
He's 6'3". He's pretty tall.
Well, I mean, I just thought he looks like a towering figure, but he's 215, 27 years old. Yep. He was 8 wins, 8 losses last year, 3.6 ERA, 142 strikeouts.
That's a good ERA.
Absolutely. Taj, my man Taj is second up, and he's only 24 years old, young kid. Excellent season last year. He was eight wins, 11 losses, 4.11 ERA. Kind of tailed off.
Well, if you remember, in like the heat of the summer, like July and the first part of August, he had a stretch where he was like the best pitcher in baseball.
I know, because people were betting him to win the Cy Young at like 200-1.
Yeah, and then he completely fell off. But you know what? That's to be expected. Young player, first full season. One thing that I like about the Rays, what they were doing with Taj this spring, I was reading, his last outing, which you don't see typically like in a spring game, especially with the Rays, who are a real conservative bunch. He threw like 105 pitches his last spring outing. So I think they are getting him amped up to, you know, pitch a lot of innings and go deeper into games this season and take that next step.
Wow, that's a great nugget. I'm looking forward. Taj was like my guy. When he came up, I want to say it was 2 years ago, then had a couple of showings. I just thought he had nasty stuff. And the one thing though that I got a little concerned with, so I went on this stretch of probably 5 or 6 games when he was pitching incredibly well and getting a lot of attention, and I was betting his over strikeouts almost every game. And they were like, at first they were like 4.5, then they went up to 5.5, then it was 6.5, then you were seeing games where he was 7.5. He got a little too mainstream, got a little too popular, and that's when he kind of burned everybody. But I really like his kind of creativity. The problem is I get a little bit nervous about certain teams in the lineups. I believe, I don't know, Drew, is it he's a righty or is he a lefty?
It's a righty, I believe.
Okay, so lefties technically have a little bit of an advantage against him. So if they're lineups that have heavier lefty, but the second or third, mainly the third time around, when they see Taj, I think the Orioles did really well against him, and I think the Red Sox did too. So those will be games where I probably are not like super into him. Drew Rasmussen is a guy that
Drew Rasmussen.
Rasmussen. Sorry, I thought that's what I said. Okay. Rasmussen. 29 years old, 6'1". He was very intriguing a couple years ago before he got.
Well, he came back last season, and I really liked what the Rays did with him last season. I haven't really seen teams do this with the pitcher before. The Rays were already out of contention when he came back. So when he came back late last year, he would come in and he would pitch 2 innings no matter what the situation was, whether the Rays
28 innings total last year.
Yeah, whether the Rays were up, whether the Rays were down, whether he was pitching well, whether he was pitching bad. The Rays were like, screw it. This guy's getting his work in. He's pitching 2 full innings. And he's returning back to – I'm a little surprised that he's going back to being a starter just because he's had so many arm injuries. I thought maybe he'd be a long bullpen guy. But, hey, you know, when he started for us in the past, he did a great job. So certainly worth giving the opportunity to. And not a guy who's going to overpower you, but that's okay.
Shane Baz up next.
That's my favorite. That's probably my favorite pitcher in the rotation. A little surprised to see him that they have him so far down the rotation at like 4. But that's okay. I think he has the filthiest stuff out of all our pitchers. He's really fun to watch, but he's just overpowering. He's the one guy in the lineup that can overpower hitters and really make them look dumb at the plate. So if I had to pick obviously I'm not saying he's going to win the Cy Young, but if I had to pick a team Cy Young of the Rays, like who I think our best pitcher is going to be this year, I would go with Shane Baz.
Wow. Okay. I'll look at Cy Young odds in a little bit. And then
again, I'm not saying he's winning Cy Young.
No, I like long shots. That's okay. I mean, a couple of these guys, I think 3 of them are going to be on the odds board with the top 3 guys. I think Pepiot's 33-1. Taj is like 75. Anyways, Zach Littell.
Zach Littell is a perfect 4 or 5. Perfect 4 or 5.
He grinded last year. I was not a big Zach Littell guy at first, but he grinded towards the end of the season. I was very impressed.
Well, he gives up a ton of hits, but like they're all bloops. And like he'll regularly have a game where he gives up 9 hits, but only results in like 2 or 3 runs.
Yep.
And he's pretty consistent with giving you 5-6 innings. And that's really all you can ask for from your number 4 or 5 pitcher. So I think the Rays were very smart because everybody who kind of follows the Rays are like, you know, why isn't he being traded? We need outfield help. We have tons of pitchers. Why don't we move him? I think they were smart knowing, hey, you know what? We have a lot of these young pitchers who have had injury history. We're not going to be in a rush to get rid of a quality starter.
Yep. I'm good with that. So that pretty much rounds out the rotation as of now. Then we have Pete Fairbanks coming out back as our closer. Let's run through the lineup. So we got Yandy at the leadoff. I think Yandy is probably the second best hitter in baseball. I would give Stephen Kwan maybe the top nod. Bit of a down year last year for Diaz, would you say?
Still not bad. Still not bad.
Probably batted 289, but he's
He hit 289 last year.
I was just guessing.
Oh, I don't remember off the top of my head, but I mean,
281.
Yandy. Okay, so Yandy, he's got to be feeling good because the Rays kind of unexpectedly picked up his option season of next season. So he's got more guaranteed money coming his way. I think I sent you that article talking about how he loves being a Ray, he wants to retire a Ray. I think it's kind of his clubhouse now that Randy and some of the other vets are gone. And I think he's like, enjoying mentoring some of the younger players. So, yeah, expect big things out of Yandy this year. And we were talking before we got on the stream. We couldn't find any player props, but if I could find some, I would like Yandy's over in home runs because I would guess it'd be like 13, 14. And I would want to take that over this season.
Okay. I want to see if I can find him to win the batting title. I think that would be fun.
Well, I mean, he did it 2 years ago.
Yeah, I don't think he could do it again. It's Yandy's year. So he bats 288 for his career and drew in spring training 6 for 9. Hot start. So, okay, next up, we got Brandon Lau. Low or Lau? I always fuck it up.
I'm drawing a blank on which one's which, to be honest with you.
I always mess it up with Josh and Brandon. So I don't want to tell you on this as we chat. I don't want to tell you how I really feel about B-Lau throughout the season because there are many times where I just want him gone and want him traded because he's.
Oh yeah, he's one of the most frustrating players to follow because he will go through stretches where you're like, this guy is completely lost.
Yep.
He has, I don't necessarily want to say it's bad body language. It's just like he can't wear it off of his face. Like when things aren't going well, some guys are kind of stoic. You're like, you know what?
Yep.
We cover it up. But when things aren't going well for him, like when he was a kid and when he was playing sports and things weren't going well, he must have cried a lot.
Yes.
Because he just he wears it so much when things are not going well.
He does always kind of look like he's about to cry. And that frustrates me a little bit. He looks a little soft and a little weak, but then when he's dialed in and he's hitting balls and he's going 3 for 4 with a double and a home run, and nobody else is doing shit, I'm like, God, I love Brandon Lau. I couldn't imagine the team without him.
Yes, he's without doubt the most hot and cold guy on the roster, without question.
And then we got Junior Caminero, third baseman, our next young superstar. I don't know if you told me or somebody told me, I didn't even realize we fleeced. Was it I
think he came from Cleveland. He came from Cleveland, yeah.
Cleveland, yeah. He just came from for a nobody. We got him.
Yeah, I don't know how Cleveland messed that up because they're typically a pretty smart organization. But mistakes do happen. But yeah, Junior, I'm a little concerned just by maybe too much pressure going on his shoulders. So hopefully, I'm hoping some of the vets, J-Lau, B-Lau, Yandy, they could step it up. So it's not like Junior coming into his first full season in MLB feeling like I need to be the man. So I don't think he's ready to be the man. Mm-hmm. Great guy to maybe come in and be second, third option on getting things done. But I'm not looking at Junior to be our team leader in categories in his first full season in MLB. I think that's a lot to ask for a guy who's 21, 22 years old.
I would agree. Yeah, well said. We'll talk about him a little bit more when I pull up the player props for everybody. Josh Low, whatever, fourth, our right fielder, another left-handed batter.
Josh would be my. So I gave you the team Cy Young. Josh would be like my team MVP of players, non-pitchers. Okay. I'm expecting big things out of him. Upwards of close to 30 home runs, close to 30 stolen bases. He had a down year last year. He had a lot of, small injuries. He had some personal things going on. So I think you are looking at him having a huge bounce back season. He had a really strong spring. He really has all the tools that you're looking for in like an elite MLB outfielder. So if the Rays are going to get where they need to go, Josh has got to deliver. And I'm more confident in him than Brandon, obviously.
Yeah, I kind of am too. I love the top of the order. I'm just going to be honest with you. I just love it. Let's talk about Christopher Morel, guy we got last year from the Cubs, I think in the Paredes trade. Yeah. Kind of a dog, but also kind of a wild card. He reminds me a little bit of Jose Siri. He is going to be playing left field. And then I don't know, sometimes at the plate, he looks absolutely miserable. Sometimes he'll give you a big hit that you desperately need. Up or down on Morel this year?
Well, the problem is you don't want. It's not good if you're being compared to Jose Siri
Oh
when
shit.
you can't play defense.
Yeah. Good
So
point.
Christopher Burrell's he's not a good defender,
Mhm.
and Jose Siri is terrible at the plate. So because at least Jose Siri is an excellent center fielder.
Right.
So I mean, listen, Christopher Morel. Hopefully, we could chalk it up to midseason unexpected trade for him. He had always played in the NL, so maybe playing inside the Trop is a different atmosphere. Playing East teams is kind of different. So yeah, I mean he is our biggest wild card out of all the position players. Where I don't know what we're going to get. It wouldn't shock me if he bats 180 and only hits 12 home runs, and also wouldn't shock me if he hits 230 and hits 25 home runs.
Mhm.
I don't really have a feel on which way it's going to go. Unfortunately, my gut feeling a little pessimistic, but I also might be biased just because he looked so bad as a Ray. He looked so bad. I mean, I couldn't believe how bad this guy looked as a Ray last year. I'm not trying to give him too hard of a time because seems like a great guy. I'm sure he's trying hard, but man, he was bad last season. He truly looked like Jose Siri at the plate, just completely lost with an occasional home run in a blue moon, but with no defensive ability. And it left me scratching my head. It's like we gave up Paredes for this guy? You know what I mean? We gave up Paredes, who's probably going to hit 30 plus home runs for the Astros last year for this guy. It's not making any sense. So I'm hoping the Rays could make me look dumb and Morel delivers this year.
Sure. I remember, I think in his first game, he hit a home run too.
He
So
hit a home run in I think his first two games, and then didn't hit another home run the rest of the season.
oh God.
But I think
Okay.
the Rays, they fell in love with him because when he is going well, he can provide power. And obviously
Yeah.
the Rays, they lack power. So he
Right.
is a guy where, he can hit 25 home runs. That's not crazy.
Right.
It's just, will he actually do it? I don't know.
Curtis Mead, first baseman. We got him over in a trade from someone, I think, but I can't remember who, unless you do. Australian. What is it?
I was going to say maybe Pittsburgh, but I could be wrong on that. That's just
No,
off
I
the top
think
of my head.
that kind of
But
sounds right.
Curtis Mead, the interesting thing with Curtis Mead is I just don't know where he fits in. I feel like the Rays had to put him on the opening day roster because he had an insane spring. He hit over 500. So because I think the last roster spot the Rays going into the season, they were going to give it to Eloy Jimenez. And they just had to give it to Curtis Mead because this guy literally hit over 500 in the spring. He put on a ton of muscle. He has a different body type. Maybe he took some Australian sauce in the offseason, whatever. It was Outback a lot. So, he's feeling good. He's looking good. I just don't know what position he's playing. Just unless the Rays think, hey, you know what? We got this crazy summer heat. Yandy's a little older, so we'll have Yandy DH more, and Curtis Mead will play first base. Maybe that's what their thought process is.
I like the idea of Curtis Mead, like just a rock solid base hitter, a guy that hopefully can go 2 for 4, 3 for 4 more often than he goes 0 for 4. I bet on him a few times in a cycle last year because I thought he was gonna start getting into a groove.
It never happened.
Never happened.
Never happened.
I'm okay with slow starts, but it's like when nothing progresses, it gets a little frustrating.
Well, the Rays have two prospects that they were very high on, where this is the season where it's make or break, where like whether they're going to be an MLB player or not, it's this season. The two players are Curtis Mead and Jonathan Ronda. Both of those guys were highly touted prospects. They've both had, some success, but mostly been a dud here in the majors. So these are two guys that are really playing for the MLB careers because if they don't pan out this season, they could be looking at just journeyman minor league players. So 2 huge seasons for those guys.
22 for 42 in spring training, 524 Curtis Mead batted. That's incredible. Okay, let's get to the 7th hole. Danny Jensen. Do the Rays finally have a catcher, Drew?
If he can stay healthy. So Danny Jensen's been solid. That's the story on him. He's been solid, but he gets dinged up a lot. He gets hurt a lot. So that's why the Rays were able to get him, because obviously the Rays aren't paying big money.
Right.
That's why they're able to get this guy on like a 1-year, $7 million deal. If he was a healthy catcher, the Rays would never be able to afford someone like this.
Right.
So if he's healthy, great pickup. But again, that's the big if.
Yeah, he's he had 1 year in 2022 with Toronto where he batted 260 and 15 home runs, and then looks like after that it's been a little rough. 228, 205, and then he was with Toronto and Boston last year. But
he was evidently injured a lot last season, even playing through injuries. So listen, if the Rays could ever get a catcher that, I'm not asking for a lot. 230, 13 home runs. Hallelujah! Like that would be incredible. It really would.
All right, 8-9 interesting players here. Make or break. What about Taylor Walls? I mean, I know he's a great defender. He's shortstop right now, but you did remind me he's kind of in place at this position until Haesung Kim gets
Yeah.
back because he's
And
dealing
he's projected to come back in May, so really not that
with
long. I mean, you're just looking at
sure.
like a month or so of Taylor Walls. I can, he
You
actually
can
had a
live with
decent
that.
spring. He had a decent spring, Taylor Walls. I think he hit close to 300. So
Okay, we'll take
we'll
that.
see if he can deliver. So yeah, you got him until Kim is back in May. And
Yep.
who's at 9?
9 is Johnny DeLuca.
Oh, okay, yeah. He had a
Not
rough
crazy about
spring.
Johnny.
He had a rough spring. I think he hit below 200. He had a rough season until
190.
the end of the year. Like last year, last September, he picked it up. He looked great. But for most of last season, left a lot to be desired. So the reason why you can make the case against the Rays is after you get past like 4 or 5 in the lineup, you're like, how are we
Yeah.
moving the baseball?
Yeah.
One guy to keep an eye on who's starting the years in the minors is there's a guy named Chandler Simpson.
Yep.
Really unique player, center fielder. He has zero power. So like zero power. I think in the minors last year he hit like 2 home runs. But I think he stole over 100 bases. If he puts the ball in play, you can't get him out. Like there was all these crazy clips of spring training where he just hits a little bloop to the pitcher and he's safe at first. And he's an absolute weapon on the base path. So I think they're going to give Johnny DeLuca probably a month, maybe 6 weeks. And if he's struggling, I would expect to see Chandler Simpson up fast.
Okay. 26 years old. Yep, he batted 190 in spring, and then the regular season last year, 217. I believe he came over from the Dodgers in a trade as well.
Yeah, he came from the Glasnow trade. Who's your team? Who's your team MVP and who's your Cy Young on the team? I gave you my 2 between J-Lo and Shane Baz. Who you going with?
This is probably going to be chalk, but I think Pepiot's going to have a big year. I'm a little nervous about Taj. He's still a pretty young dude. Really like what I saw from him at times throughout the season, but he does get a little shaken up, a little rattled, and he gets figured out. That adjustment from going to the Trop, where he was starting to get settled in, now to playing outside, is something that's giving me a little bit of pause. Where the hitting conditions should improve for the opponent. I don't know. I mean, look. I'm still a Taj guy. I want to make that very clear. But there was something I saw about Ryan Pepiot where I think he's got ace potential. Like, I don't know if you agree or disagree. I see you nodding your head. But and then again, I just thought maybe it's because, like, this sounds so stupid. Maybe it's because of the long hair. And I know he's not like skinny like Tyler Glasnow, but Tyler Glasnow, what is he like? He's like 6'5", 6'6". Like, he's a monster. Ryan Pepiot looks like a Tyler Glasnow, but someone who does more push-ups and lifts more weights. Like, he's fucking rock solid. And
he looks like a linebacker almost.
He looks like a linebacker, and he's just imposing and intimidating on the mound. And I feel like when he really locks in, he could be one of the better pitches in the AL. So, I saw on the odds board, he's 33-1 to win the Cy Young. Like, I don't think that's crazy. I think he's going to have a really good year. So that's my chalky play. I'm with you. I love Baz. I might have been a little bit higher on Rasmussen.
Drew Rasmussen.
I might have been a little higher on him. But okay, in terms of the lineup, well, your guy, who was your guy again?
J-Lo.
Your guy was J-Lo. I'll give you Curtis Mead. I'll give you
Curtis Mead as the team MVP. Get the hell out of here.
Well, hear me out. He's
not going to play enough.
What do you mean he's not going to play?
He's not going to be an everyday player. He's not going to be I mean, there's no way Curtis Mead's an everyday player.
But Drew, I can't give you 2 chalk plays because I really do think Yanni's going to have a huge year. I can't give you Brandon Lau. My whole thing with Curtis Mead, though, is that the Rays need guys on base. And in the back end of the lineup, 5 through 9, there's nobody that really gives me a whole ton of confidence. And it would be really nice, just hear me out, really nice if Curtis Mead gets on base and then we somehow make it through 7, 8, 9 with, like, I don't know, 1 walk or something. There's 2 outs. And then Yandy comes up. Okay, that could be that guy.
I just don't think he's going to play enough, but fair enough. I hope you're right. I hope he thrives and he plays first base every day so Yandy can relax and just DH and get off his feet. One guy that's a wild card who's starting in AAA that I want to mention is Joe Boyle. Just because you brought up Tyler Glasnow, Joe Boyle, they got in the Jeffrey Springs trade from Oakland. He was a starter for Oakland last season. He looks just like Tyler Glasnow. If you watch him pitch, he's big and lanky and has a thing throwing motion. I would expect you're going to see him pitching this year, and knowing his biggest issue with the A's was control, kind of wild. And the Rays, obviously, they know how to fix pitchers. So
Sure.
if he could get dialed in, look out for him. He could be one of those guys where people are like, how the hell did the Rays get this guy?
Okay, love that. Let's go through some of these player props. I'm looking on Bet Online right here real quick. Brandon Lau, 20.5 home runs, overs minus 140.
Over.
Wow, sounds like you'd love it. RBIs, 58.5, overs minus 120.
Yeah, over, yeah. Over.
Okay. Christopher Morel, 20.5 home runs.
I would go under.
You would go under. RBIs, he is at why am I missing it? 60.5. That's actually seems like kind of a lot. It's more than Brandon.
Yeah, I would go under for him. I'm just not confident. I hope I'm wrong.
Okay. Josh, 15.5 home runs.
Over. I think he kills that. I would love to see if you could get like better odds at him at like 20 plus.
Wow. Okay. RBIs. This is what I really like. Josh Lau RBIs 60.5.
Yeah, it kills it. I mean, I don't see why he can't get 80 plus this year.
Because if he's projected to hit in the 4-hole, you can get Junior, Belau, and Yandy on base, maybe even Curtis Mead. I love that. That might be my favorite bet. Okay. Junior, 22.5 home runs.
I would lean under. I think that's a lot to ask for him. I don't even think he's 22 and a half years old.
78.5 RBIs. That's a lot.
Yeah, I'm passing on those. I'm not necessarily saying no, but I'm not betting it.
62.5 runs scored.
Passing.
Okay, you're passing on.
I'm passing on everything Junior related. I'm not necessarily saying no like with Morel, but I'm passing. So we got one yes, one no.
Here's
one
my
passing.
guy, Pepe at 150.5 strikeouts.
I say yes, just because, knock on wood, he proved to be extremely durable last season.
I say yay. Like big time. Yay. Like maybe I might put $500.
What about Boz? What do you got for Boz? Anything?
Nothing. Total wins for Pepe at 8.5. Shane McClanahan, total wins. He's injured, obviously, 9.5. Taj Bradley, 164.5 strikeouts. 15 more than Pepe up, but he's a strikeout guy.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Taj is he may have an outing where he doesn't pitch well, but he still gets a shit ton of strikeouts.
Exactly.
You know, he could easily have a 5-inning, 5-run, but still end up with close to 10 Ks.
Yep. Total wins for Taj, 8.5, and then we've got some Yandy props here. Yandy, 285 batting average. God, I want to go over.
Yeah, I would lean over for that.
Total home runs for Yandy. I think you asked about this. 14.5.
Okay, I said 13, 14, so that's on the higher end, but I'd still take it.
And then 64.5 RBIs.
Tough thing with RBIs, if he's hitting in the 1-hole, who's he driving in? Is he driving in Johnny DeLuca? I mean, I don't know.
Mead.
Unless they maybe, they could, like, let's say Aranda takes off. I could see him going into the 1-hole.
Right.
And dropping Yandy down.
The Rays win total is 80.5. Over is minus 120. The odds for them to win the division are 8-1. I kind of like a little stab at 8-1.
Yeah, it seems to be varying. Some books, I've seen 7-1, 8-1. I know back when the Super Bowl happened, they were 10-1, which I thought was crazy. I would sprinkle. I don't necessarily think they're going to win the AL East, but I think it's worth it at those odds of 8-1. It's worth a shot. I think the Red Sox are winning the AL East, but I love the over in wins. I would be very surprised if the Rays win less than 81 games, honestly. I mean, the team was kind of a disaster last year. They won 80 games. With all the turmoil and blowing up the roster in the middle of the season, they still were basically a 500 team.
Yeah.
I think it's really difficult to say the team's going to win X amount of games, but I think giving a range is a little more realistic. And I say 85 to 90 wins. Okay.
All right. Well, I'm going to take the Rays over the win total. I'm going to take a stab at them to win the AL East. They're 16-1 to win the AL, if anybody cared. And then, all right, Drew. So I think we're kind of on the same page. I'll pump the brakes a little bit on a few Rays props. But I am probably going to go with Pepe. I'll do some Josh Lau. I don't see anything for Shane Baz or Curtis Mead, unfortunately. Let's talk a little AL East for the other teams real quick. Who you like, who you don't like.
So let me go with who I'm high on, who I'm low on. I am high on the Red Sox. I think they're going to win the division this season. I see them winning 95 games. The offense is nasty. They picked up that starter from the White Sox. It's escaping my name. Yeah. I mean, that guy, if he stays healthy, he could win the Cy Young easily.
Yep.
They're going to be a problem, man. Because the Red Sox have always been able to score runs. The starting pitching is pretty good. One thing that I guess is a little concerning, though, is their bullpen is not great. I mean, Aroldis Chapman is their closer. This guy is definitely, his best days are behind him.
Sure.
So their bullpen's going to be the one weakness, but I like them to win the division.
Okay. They are oh wait, where did my division futures go? They are the Red Sox are plus 225.
Okay.
Yankees plus 175. You're not scared of the Yankees, are you?
What are the Yankees? I think to miss the playoffs are like plus 280. I would take that.
Oh.
Well, listen, I'm not even like one of those guys who's like, oh, fuck the Yankees. I mean, I'm not necessarily a Yankee hater, but let me tell you, let me just say it this way. Yankees lost their best starting pitcher in Garrett Cole, right? Mm-hmm. They lost their best hitter in Juan Soto. Mm-hmm. They lost their second best power hitter in Giancarlo Stanton. They lost one of their best relief pitchers in Clay Holmes. I mean, that's a lot to lose.
Devin Williams is good.
Okay, yeah, he's good. Okay. They, very fair that they picked him up. But
Max Fried.
It's not Garrett Cole.
No, he's not Garrett Cole. And I don't like Carlos Rodon.
Carlos Rodon, I mean, he's a 3 or 4. What scares you about the Yankees? I look at the Red Sox and their lineup, I get a little nervous.
Yep.
Does anything scare you on the Yankees? Or let me frame it this way. What do the Yankees do really well? So we know, like, for example, the Rays pitch very well. The Orioles hit very well. The Red Sox hit very well. What do the Yankees do really well? Everything looks very average. Pitching looks average. Hitting looks average. Everything's average.
Mm-hmm. I guess if Bellinger and Goldschmidt have solid years.
Paul Goldschmidt's like our age.
I know. Yeah.
Honestly, I think Paul Goldschmidt's like 38.
Put it like that.
and I don't know how old Bellinger is, but I think he's past his prime too.
Yeah, Bellinger just kind of seems like his head's not really in it, but I don't know. I could be wrong. I like Ben Rice. I don't care about Jazz. I don't care about Volpe.
There's nothing on the Yankees that scares me. Nothing.
No. Okay.
So I think they missed the playoffs. I think I'm not saying they're terrible. The Yankees are never terrible. And they're going to make a move at the trade deadline because they're not just going to go away. But I think they're 84, 85 win team.
Okay. Let's see actually what that is. They're plus 170 to miss the playoffs on Bet Online, and New York Yankees are 88.5. The under.
I like under.
Baltimore Orioles.
Just a head scratcher. Like, they're a team where they're loaded with young players, and they did nothing in the offseason. And they have a new ownership group that supposedly said they were going to spend money. And they let Corbin Burns go, who was great for them last season. I mean, the starting pitching is hilarious. To go into the season where your 1-2 is Zach Eflin and 41-year-old Charlie Morton, I mean, how is that serious?
I don't know.
Like, what if they have an injury? Then what is it? Then it's
they already do. Grayson Rodriguez is hurt. Bradish is hurt. So those guys are decent. Gray Rod's really good. But I'm with you. I'm fading Zach Eflin right out of the gate, by the way. I'm taking the Blue Jays team total over.
It's not even necessarily fading Zach Eflin. He's just not a number one.
No, he's not.
He's your number one starter. And then Charlie Morton, I mean, he's 41 years old.
So the Baltimore Orioles win total is 86.5.
Yeah, I was under.
And Boston is 87.5. And the Orioles are plus 125 to miss the playoffs. So a little bit more expected there, obviously.
Who do you think is going to be better, Baltimore? So I have the division going Red Sox, Rays. Where I'll pause is who do you think is going to be better, the Yankees or the Orioles?
Yankees.
You think the Yankees?
Yep.
Really? What makes you think the Yankees are going to be better than the Orioles? I think lean to the Orioles there.
I have this really scary feeling that now that the Yankees don't have this weight of expectation of winning a World Series because of all their excuses, that a lot of pressure is off them. And I'm scared that they're going to be, I'm not saying they're going to be juggernauts, but I think that they can still probably find a way to win like 91, 92 games. And
I don't see it. I mean, where is it coming from with no Stanton, no Juan Soto? That's a lot of power.
Ben Rice.
Okay. You're a Ben Rice guy.
No, I like Ben Rice. No, I'm just saying, look, I do really like Devin Williams, but I wasn't a Clay Holmes hater. The Yankees fans hated Clay Holmes.
I don't know why they hated Clay Holmes. He was very solid.
He would have a couple blow up games, but like every closer
Everybody does.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, if we're talking 162 games, everyone's gonna have.
But you know what it was? It was like they were worse. It wasn't like he would like come in with like a 1-run lead and he'd blow. Like he would blow like 3 to 4 run leads, and then people would be really pissed about that because they're games they really should have won. I don't know. Listen, I can't make sense of it either, but it's more of like there's a lot of pressure on the Red Sox, and I agree with you. I look at the Red Sox lineup and I'm scared. I like their young guys. I like Bello, whatever. I like Tanner Houck. I like their guys, and I like their lineup. I love Jarren Duran's probably one of my favorite players in MLB, but he just had one of the best years for a leadoff guy.
I guess the only downside in the Red Sox is I've heard that the vibe's a little weird. With Bregman coming in there because Devers doesn't want to give up playing third base.
Yep.
Bregman's like playing nice guy, saying he'll do whatever, but supposedly the vibe might be a little off in the clubhouse on who the leader is and this and that. So that would be the one downside to the Red Sox.
I don't really understand. I never knew Devers was such a bad third baseman. I did not know that.
I didn't know that either, to be honest.
He's like one of the worst in the league, people were saying defensively.
Interesting.
Oh, anyways.
The Blue Jays.
I like the Blue Jays, man.
You like them? You like them?
I always like the Blue Jays.
Okay, so who do you have finishing last in the division?
Orioles.
That's hard to see.
I would go Rays, Red Sox.
You're going Rays winning the division.
Yeah, you fucking asshole. I told you 8-1. Rays.
Well, I'm taking it 8-1 too, but I'm not expecting it to happen.
All right, fine.
So take your fan hat off. Let's just say, like, who do you
I'm not being a fan. I'm not being a fan. I think they can win this division.
Okay.
Fine. I won't say the Rays.
No. If that's what you believe, I don't want to talk you out of it. So you're going Rays first. Give me 1 through 5.
I'll do this. Red Sox, Rays, Yankees, Blue Jays, Orioles.
Okay.
I think
I was originally kind of trying to field the Blue Jays, but no. I mean, no. Vlad, he's not. They didn't pay Vlad for some reason. I don't understand what they're doing because
they still could.
They still could, but it kind of feels like because what if Vlad comes out and he has an even better season? Now his price tag is just going higher.
They're gonna have to pay it.
I don't know. And then Bochette had a bad season last year.
Oh, he'll be fine. He's awesome.
Well, he's another guy who's due to get paid.
I know.
They have a lot of guys up in the air. Whereas if they're hovering around 500, they would be very smart to just do a massive sell-off.
I thought they were going to do that last year.
Well, everybody did. I'm like, why aren't they selling? I don't think they really know what they're doing.
I don't think they do either. I think their ownership is not very good.
Yeah. So I have them in last. So I would go Red Sox, Rays, Orioles, Yankees, Blue Jays. Yankees finish in 4th place sounds kind of ridiculous, but I just don't see it. I hope this circles with Yankees fans and they can tell me where I'm missing it.
Okay. All right. Well, look, I don't see it either. Nothing really scares me on that lineup, except if Goldschmidt and Bellinger, who feel like, I'm just saying, dude, what if they just play loose and fucking hit bombs left and right, and the Yankees score 7-8 runs a game at home?
Well, I got to look up Paul Goldschmidt's age.
He's probably 39 years old.
He's about to turn 38.
Okay.
So, yeah, he's, he's pretty old, man.
Drew,
hit
thank you very much.
Last year. How old is Cody Bellinger? I'm looking at
34.
No, Cody Bellinger is actually young. I was wrong.
I know.
I was wrong.
I'm telling you, I'm just saying, like, this old guy, the old hound, Goldschmidt, he's not expected to do a lot. Everybody's saying he's old. Kind of like Max Scherzer. I'm not really scared of Max Scherzer being on the Blue Jays as the 4th pitcher, but he's old. He's a vet. Maybe he brings an element to the team that they need. And yeah, I'm not scared by it. But
no.
Okay.
So yeah, Red Sox. I expect Red Sox win the division. 94 games.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go Rays 88 games.
Okay.
I think Orioles sneak into the playoffs, high 80s win total, and Yankees and Blue Jays miss playoffs.
All right. Good shit. Drew, you're the man. Thank you for hopping on and talking Rays and talking AL East. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Have a great MLB season. Opening day tomorrow, Thursday. Drew, we'll be chatting throughout the year. Let's go Rays.
Go Rays.
Take it easy.